Hey everyone, and welcome right back to The Explainer. So if you're a focused learner looking to literally map out the everyday relationships that shape your life, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today we're taking a super fascinating framework and turning it into a highly visual study guide, perfectly tailored for the high school level. We're going to learn how to diagram the invisible interactions of our lives using Dasbien diagrams and the ZIE Rapid method. So grab a mental pencil, get comfortable, and let's decode the world around us.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with seeing the invisible, learn the grammar of well-being, and classify relationships into optimal, tense, and broken. Then we'll check out some real Latin American cases before handing it over to you for a few quick exercises.
I really want to kick things off with this profound quote directly from our source material. Poverty makes us human. Any effort that helps improve our conditions of existence, that of everyone, is a gesture that deserves attention. It just beautifully sets up the whole ethical foundation for what we're doing today. Like, why even bother mapping our interactions? Well, because understanding how we affect each other is the absolute first step toward improving the human condition.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, Seeing the Invisible.
Think about Richard Feynman for a second. The guy won a Nobel Prize in physics, and it wasn't for writing out these massive, endless equations. It was for drawing the invisible. He created Feynman diagrams to make complex quantum particles totally visible and easy to teach. And honestly, Dasbien diagrams do the exact same thing, but for something that affects us way more on a daily basis. The invisible flows of our relationship health, our well-being, and even harm. It's like a giant puzzle. Just as a physicist draws particles to understand how they work, we can draw our daily interactions to see exactly where our relationships are thriving and where they're kind of falling apart.
Moving right along to Section 2, the grammar of well-being. Before we read the maps, we have to learn the language.
So the absolute core concept here is the ZEI. That stands for the zone of balanced interaction. It's this dynamic range of exchange between two systems where a few crucial things happen. There's no irreversible harm, the environment doesn't degrade, and both parties actually improve their welfare and learn. Think of the ZEI as your ultimate green flag goal for literally any interaction. If you're in the ZEI, you are golden. Now, let's look at the entities involved in these interactions, which are represented by circles or vertices. I actually love using a video game analogy here because it hits the nail right on the head. A full vertex, the solid black circle, means the entity only gives or acts. It's like having unlimited ammo, but you're not taking any feedback or receiving anything back. Then you have the empty vertex, the blank circle. This entity only receives or suffers. Think of a totally empty health bar. They literally cannot give anything back. And finally, the half-full vertex. This is the half-black circle, meaning the entity both gives and receives. This is your balanced co-op board, where real mutual exchange happens.
So, what connects these circles? We use these wavy lines, and they represent the actual depth of the interaction. You can honestly think of these like read receipts when you're texting. One wavy line means you're just assuming what the other person needs. You sent the message, but who knows how it landed, right? Two wavy lines mean you actually investigated what they need before you acted. Better. But three wavy lines, that is the gold standard. That means you verified their response and adjusted your actions based on their feedback. It's a deep, completely mutual connection.
Now, what's really fascinating about this framework is how it handles our relationship with ourselves. We usually think of interactions as between two different people, right? Well, notice how the arrow loops right back to the original vertex here? This perfectly visualizes a vital interaction with oneself. Think about practicing mindful breathing. You're subjectivizing, you're intending relaxation, and you're taking feedback directly from your own bodily sensations. It shows that self-care isn't just a buzzword. It's a legitimate, measurable interaction where you are both giving and receiving.
Which brings us to Section 3, Optimal, Tense, and Broken. Let's classify these interactions.
Check out this ZIE optimal diagram. Notice all the visual cues we just learned? We've got the three wavy lines right in the middle, showing that deep mutual feedback, and both vertices are half-filled, meaning both entities are giving and receiving in total balance. The ultimate test of a ZIE optimal interaction is asking this: could this exchange be safely repeated 100 times? In this case, absolutely yes. The exchange can actually be intensified without causing any harm.
But of course, not all interactions are optimal. Let's contrast a broken ZI with an optimal one.
A broken ZI is a massive red flag. The source material uses this really powerful example, buying cheap industrial eggs where you, the consumer, never visit the farm and have zero connection to the hens suffering. There is no feedback loop, no wavy lines of connection at all. The only action to take here is to stop, restore, and renegotiate. Compare that to the ZI optimal green flag, where there's mutual adjustment and both parties are constantly learning and benefiting, day and night, right?
Now, if you're mapping this out for a study guide, Chapter 1 of the manual gives us a rock-solid recipe. It's literally 6 simple steps. First, define the context. Second, identify the care entities involved. Third, assess the initial state of everyone. Fourth, draw those interactions using our wavy lines. Fifth, define the vertex types, full, empty, or half full. And sixth, apply colors to show the intensity of the flow. Stick to those steps, and you can diagram almost any situation in life.
Let's look at how this plays out in the real world with Section 4, Real Latin American Cases.
This next example brilliantly illustrates the framework in action. This is Case 2, Doña Rosa and her older adult, and her daughter, Elena, who acts as her informal caregiver. Looking at this diagram, we clearly see an optimal ZI. Both vertices are half full. Why? Well, because Doña Rosa learns to adjust her meal schedules so she isn't a burden, and Elena learns to read her mother's early signs of hypoglycemia. They are mutually adjusting to each other's needs, creating a perfectly balanced, intense zone of balanced interaction. It is a really beautiful visual of family care.
But what about biology? This is kind of mind-blowing. Think about a person interacting with a virus. In Dasbien grammar, a virus isn't mapped out as some evil villain. It's just a full, solid black vertex. Why is that? Because outside a cell, a virus has no metabolism to receive care. It only gives or replicates. Because there's zero feedback loop, this isn't a ZIE at all. It's what we call an existential conflict. The virus blindly mutates, it doesn't learn. This really helps us objectively visualize why certain biological interactions are fundamentally unbalanced.
All right, it is your turn. Let's hit Section 5, Quick Exercises, to see if you can decode these cases.
Here is your 1-star case study. Imagine a veterinarian treating a cat. The vet's medical goal is completely achieved. They fixed the physical issue. But the cat is terrified and highly stressed by the handling. Based on what we've covered, how would you classify this ZIE? Try to picture the vertices in your head. The vet is acting, so they're full. The cat is suffering stress, so it's empty. Is this interaction optimal, tense, or broken?
Got your answer? The verdict is a ZET tense, a big yellow flag. If we run it through the ZIE Rapid questions, are both doing well? No, the cat is terrified. Can this exact interaction be repeated 100 times? Definitely not. The cat will develop a severe veterinary phobia. Because of that, the interaction must be adjusted. The vet needs to change how often they do it, adjust their handling, or maybe add a mild sedative to make sure no irreversible psychological harm is done. Let's step it up to a 2-star boundary case straight from the source material. What happens if you're evaluating an interaction, say, with a highly advanced AI or some totally unknown ecosystem? And when you ask those ZI Rapid questions, your honest answer to all of them is just not sure. You simply do not know enough to say if the entity is a care subject that can even be harmed. What are you supposed to do then?
So, here is the crucial takeaway. Answering not sure isn't you failing the test. It's just honesty. In Dasbien rules, when you hit a wall of total uncertainty, you apply the precautionary principle. This means you suspend the interaction if you can, you investigate to reduce your uncertainty, and you absolutely do not resume the interaction blindly. It functions as a built-in safety brake for the unknown.
And that brings us to the end of our study guide explainer. But before we go, I want to leave you with a direct challenge. Grab that mental pencil one last time. If you had to draw a Dasbien diagram of your relationship with your smartphone right this very second, who is the full vertex? Who is empty? Are there 3 wavy lines of genuine mutual feedback, or is it a totally one-way street? Ask yourself, is your digital relationship optimal, tense, or broken? I promise, once you start drawing these diagrams, you will never unsee the invisible realities of your life. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.